Alright, hello everyone, this is Varied Nexus, and today I'm going to be talking about RWBY Grimm Eclipse. This game, produced by Rooster Teeth Productions, is the first game based off of their hit web series, RWBY. In regards to this game, it's very much a mixed bag. I'm going to go easy on them since this is their first proper game. And I'm going to be honest with you, for a first game, it's not terrible. The graphics look very nice, especially considering the fact that this is, a first-time game. It looks pretty good, actually. The color palette is amazing. The graphics themselves fit with the show. And overall, there's some pretty nice-looking vistas in this game. But in regards to the combat, this is where I'm going to have to talk about where this game has some shortcomings. Now, RWBY Grimm Eclipse is basically an action game at heart. And the reason I find issue with this is it tries to be a game that's in the vein of like Devil May Cry or God of War, where you're pulling off combos and you're taking on large groups of enemies at once. And for the most part, it works, but it's not what it could have been. It definitely could have been just a better experience. I think if they had given this game a little bit more time, there could have been some more interesting combos to pull off, and there could have been some more interesting, maybe team-based combos that go in with the co-op element of the game. But what we have now is not terrible, mind you. It's just that it's not exactly bare bones, but kind of minimum in a way. Like, it's still fun to play, especially with friends, but I do wish there was a little more substance to the combat, since I usually find myself using the same combos over and over, depending on what character I'm using. In regards to the story of the game, this game takes place between RWBY's volumes 2 and 3, and I understand why the story is not supposed to connect to the main story of the show, because then if people didn't play Grimm Eclipse, they'd be a little lost if it was referenced. So I understand why the story is not exactly consequential when it comes to the main plot of the series. However, I would have liked a little bit more substance. It's just that there really isn't much other than people talking to you over your scroll, giving you objectives and backstory. It's just, there's not much there. Even if you want to hear some banter between Team RWBY or the later added Team Juniper, you need to play co-op with your friends. There aren't any AI teammates, which is kind of unfortunate because that would have been really cool to maybe coordinate your team with like orders and stuff and pull off like unique team style takedowns with the AI, but, what can you do now, I guess? Um, but overall, I really think this game could have done with some cutscenes. Like, I'm not asking for Metal Gear Solid level cutscenes where you could essentially cut them out and make a movie with it. What I'm asking for really is just quick, maybe 1 minute maximum cutscenes. And to be honest with you, I don't think that's asking too much, especially considering that Rooster Teeth uses Maya, which is a software that's used quite a bit when making cutscenes in games. I think it would have been great if they had gone that extra mile, I guess you could say, to add in some more story content into the game. It really would have helped its case. In regards to the actual progression system in the game, it reminded me a lot of League of Legends in the way that you don't necessarily level up your character in the normal way you might in a game like Fallout or Skyrim. You level them up mid-combat or mid-mission on this little pop-up level up screen that doesn't pause the combat. So if you're in the middle of a fight, you can't really level up because you'll just get swarmed by Grimm. And the reason it reminded me a bit of League of Legends is just because the trees themselves aren't particularly massive. Now, I know if I'm triggering people who are playing League of Legends, I'm sorry, like, I'm not 100% versed in that. I played it a few times years ago, and back then, that's what I remember about it. I remember the level up trees not being the most expansive thing in the world. Now, that might have changed. I don't know. In regards to RWBY, though, it's very small. It's modifications to certain attacks or certain abilities, and there's even one that lets you revive your teammates faster, which, by the way, should be a must-have, because in some of the later missions, you'll get down quite a bit, because there are certain enemies in this game that are just powerhouses in regards to damage and just speed of attacks. And to be honest with you, that problem probably could have been negated if some of the game's animations were a little bit smoother. If, for example, I usually play as RWBY just because I like how RWBY feels in this game. I enjoy the play style that comes with playing as RWBY. And the problem I have is there's this one enemy type in the game, or, well, not really an enemy type, but the final boss in the game will burrow under the ground and come towards you. And I'll be firing at range, and what RWBY does is she has this 3-hit ranged combo where she'll fire 2 normal rounds out of crescent rows, and then she'll fire a special round. And when she fires that special round, the animation is slightly longer than the normal shooting animation. So if this enemy goes underground and decides to charge me, I can't dodge out of the way if I'm in the middle of that animation, and in the end I end up getting hit. And I think that's kind of a problem with this game, is that if you're going, because I'm going to be honest with you, if you're going to make an action game, you need to make it so things are fluid, because the player is going to be moving around quite a bit. You need to give them the ability to dodge out of the way when in danger, or block attacks, or what have you. That needs to be a feature. So if I had to give some advice to Rooster Teeth, I would say if you're going to make a sequel to Grimm Eclipse, not only do I wholeheartedly sponsor that as just a fan of the series, please, I would love to see a sequel, but if you do, it'd be great to see some cutscenes. Even if they're not the longest things in the world, I'd love to see cutscenes. I think that would really expand the game and its story. I would like to see maybe some AI team members, because it's really weird when, like, you're playing it by yourself and you're essentially RWBY is going through the entire story without her team with her. It's just it's weird. But other than that, and some tweaks to the animations and maybe an expanding of the progression system, I think this game is pretty good for a first game. For a first time ever, a full-blown game from Rooster Teeth. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If I had to rate it out of 10, I'd give it, I don't like using decimal points, but I'll say a 6.5, 6.5. Just because I really enjoy the show, and this game, even though it may not be the best thing in the world, definitely scratches that RWBY itch if you're in between volumes. But as far as recommendations go, if you're really into RWBY, I would definitely recommend getting this game, because you already have that investment from the series. If you've never seen the show, first off, please watch it. It's an amazing series. In regards to the actual game, though, if you've never seen the show, your mileage may vary. You may like the game, you may not like the game. It's really going to be up to how lenient you are with some of its flaws. But I would definitely recommend, either way, playing this game with friends. This game is 100% better with friends. You get to see some nice character dialogue when you have other people playing with you, and the story is a bit more interesting that way. But other than that, I think that's it. This has been Varied Nexus, signing off. See you guys next time.